Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all of our attendees. Welcome to the June PKI Solutions PKI Insights webinar. We have some really great content for you today and a special guest. I can't wait to get things started here. As we queue up, if this is your first time coming to one of our webinars, welcome. We'll be taking questions as we go through. We are anticipating a lot of great feedback and questions. So if we don't get to your question, we will do our best to follow up as we can. We've got some of our team that will be helping to moderate and getting your questions over into the Q&A. So we will absolutely get to those as we can. And as always, we will be getting this up onto our YouTube channel. So if you've got coworkers or colleagues, yes, this will be available. Yes, it's being recorded. We'll get it out there and get it shared more broadly. Well, with that, what I'd love to do, I think most of you know me, I'd love to introduce our very special guest, Tanya Ya. She is the Senior Product Manager at Microsoft. Tanya, can you introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. It is so nice to meet you all. And me and Active Directory and Active Directory Certificate Services have been tied for quite a bit. I started my career with Active Directory, so worked a lot in the CSS area with a lot of customers at Microsoft for at least 4 to 5 years with Active Directory and ADCS. And then as my luck would have it, I made a whole round to Redmond, again, Microsoft, and came back as a product manager for Active Directory Certificate Services. So it's really nice to meet you all. And I think this is a journey that feels very close to my heart because I've worked so closely with a lot of customers, and I'm looking forward to, connect with more of you and, hope that we can share information about what we are up to and also create this channel for connection with you all. Thank you so much, Mark, for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And I think when you and I first got connected, one of the first things that came to mind is one of the former product managers was Rashmi.
Yes.
No relation though, but I think it's an interesting connection that we have another product manager with the odd name. So welcome aboard. It was so great to get connected to you recently. Just in case there's anyone that doesn't know me, I'm the founder and CEO of PKI Solutions, actually a former Microsoft employee from many years ago. So it was a great connection with Tanya when we got connected to kind of talk a little bit about ADCS at Microsoft, bits and pieces, and all the different teams that are out there. So it's been a great connection from there. Well, with that, let me just kind of go over what we're hoping to cover today. We're going to talk around certificate services. We're going to kind of talk a little bit about what the landscape is and what Tanya's team has been up to. We'll talk about the recent release of the MLDSA signing, the post-quantum signing that was introduced for certificate services. And we'll just kind of talk about what's happening around post-quantum and the enterprise and see what Tanya can share. I'm sure there'll be some areas that she may defer, and we're certainly prepared for that. But we're hoping that we're able to get to a lot of the questions and topics that people are getting to. So why don't we start a little bit with the current landscape? When we kind of think about certificate services and your role and what your team is doing, what can you share as far as like your current mission and what was it been 12 months now, 18 months in the role?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do that. So as a part, I work in the Active Directory product team. So we are a set of PMs all working towards anything related to Active Directory, and Active Directory Certificate Services is a huge part that we are working on. And as you all must have seen that with Windows Server 2025, et cetera, there have been quite some changes that did come in and features, et cetera. And I just wanted to share like a broad overall thinking that we've been having as we think about our investments currently. We know that a lot of our customers continue using ADCS as an integral part of their PKI environment and also for the security and different needs. And we want to make sure that we are committed to keeping our customers protected and productive while they leverage our product. So that's kind of the main thinking. So, and I would also like to tell you that a lot of the time also ends up going on in ensuring that ADCS remains vulnerability free. As you know, that there are a lot of vulnerabilities that get surfaced throughout the year, and with the advent of AI, it has bombarded.
Yeah.
So that's one area that we are focusing very, very strongly on. That's more invisible to the outer world, but right now a lot of our work is between ensuring that our customers are safe from any kind of vulnerabilities and potential attacks, and also ensuring that if there are needs that our customers have today that can help them support their journey for Active Directory certificate services, and ensuring that their environments are still capable of managing the load that they are taking in nowadays. So those are the areas that we are looking at. So if I have to really think about it, we work under 3 to 4 pillars. So the first one is security, of course. The second one that we look at is supportability. Can we support our customers? Can we support our internal CSS to help our customers better? And what do we need to do there to make it better, like better logging, better auditing, more visibility? I keep hearing so many more feedback around DCS. So I'm really like looking forward to, think them through with my team and kind of like have a better roadmap that reflects our customer experiences. And of course, like last but not the least, we are also looking at like how can we help them, work with the hybrid environments that a lot of customers are having. And of course, post-quantum is the new big word that we've been working on the last 2 years, in fact. So like, it's something that's finally coming out, and we are very happy to talk about it.
Yeah, and I think you're in a great position in that a lot of that underlying post-quantum stuff, which I know we're going to get to shortly, is already in the primitives. It's already in the CNG. Like that underlying framework is there. So there's kind of a great roadmap there for you. I know the team also released some new features, and it was kind of like the first time that we saw. You and your team active. It was just kind of like you popped out of the blue. So there must have been some interesting things about you coming into the role, and then suddenly here's a couple new roles or features that you added in and getting those out into the product so quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that my team has been working silently for a very long time. And like even before I got in, there were so many movements that we were making in the area of post-quantum and like AD certificate services itself. The main thing is that I just like to chat. So I've just been chatting everywhere about the work that my team has been doing. But I need to tell you that there is so much work that does go in ensuring that the product is kept running in a secure way. That has been a big area. And even when I get into a little bit more into like the cryptographic abilities that we've been able to introduce, I think a lot of it goes back to the crypto team that has been working hard for the past year to bring in those capabilities, those binaries into our operating systems. And of course, as ADCS, we are one of the first consumers to consume those binaries and bring that support to our customers. So it's kind of been like a parallel game where we're all playing ball together. And that kind of just like it is connecting more and more teams together. So I would also love to like talk a little bit more about the Quantum Safe program that Microsoft has been having, because I know that a lot of customers have, they're still coming out to us and being like, are we going to do anything about post-quantum? And I'm like, yes, we are already doing it.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that the other thing is this is very reflective of what we see in the enterprise, where a lot of customers still see ADCS as a critical part of their modern infrastructure, right? It's whether it's for microservices or AI or good old-fashioned VPNs, the PKI and the certificates are integral to what they're doing, and ADCS is uniquely positioned in that it's in the majority of environments. It's a great platform to continue to invest in, but I think this also shows that these new features and the work that your team has done has continued to show that there is capabilities that ADCS has and will continue to deliver on. When we kind of think a little bit about the scalability of ADCS in your mind, does that do you guys start thinking about things like cloud services and Azure and these other areas? There's the Intune PKI. Like what does scalability mean, or is that an area that you guys are still kind of exploring as a team?
I think that's an area we are actively exploring. Like, as you all know, that Cloud PKI is a team that's been working on a lot of these cloud scenarios, Intune scenarios, etc. And we do keep in touch and we do think about scenarios and how can we build the story better together. So those conversations are still happening. But I think we are all very much in the early stages to think through how this whole picture looks like. Mainly because we are heads down with post-quantum work. But that's kind of the thing that I think for the next 1 to 2 years itself, as more and more standards are introduced and as more and more algorithms are, standardized, we will continue to be working. We'll continue to work on areas that are required to change in Active Directory certificate services, and then how that snowballs into Active Directory areas, auth areas, for business use cases, federation. So this is going to be a big multi-year effort that we see coming. So currently, like when we think about scalability and other areas of exploration, I think we are definitely, we want to listen to our customers and keep a really close eye on what can we do better and prioritize better. That's where we want our customers. But yes, that's more of an early conversation that will most likely be solidified in the future. If I can say.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we kind of think about the current landscape, I know we're going to touch on PQC shortly. So far, your team has delivered some new capabilities around CRL partitioning. Do you want to talk about that briefly?
Yeah, absolutely. I know we need to. I know that this is something that has been. It was brought up to ensure that the customers are able to scale their CRL validation capabilities. And also, it again flows back into the security aspect as well. That if you need to revoke a certificate, do you need to download the whole CRL and keep that bulk when you can do a much more quicker job? So it's also like it's operational, and at the same time, it's also something that helps you become more secure in areas where there are really large workloads and really large CRL, CRLs basically. So that's the reason why we brought in the CRL partitioning, to enable our customers to keep up with the increasing workloads and the operational pressure that they might be facing from a day-to-day basis, and work towards scalability of their certificate management.
Okay, and I know news got out there about CRL partitioning. That I think that was one of the first ways that we had connected. I will put you on the spot. Any features that your team put into the product that no one's found yet? There aren't any kind of Easter eggs or anything that we put that in there and no one's figured that out yet?
I think. No, there are no Easter eggs so far, but that is to not say that there might not be any in the future. I think with the way we communicate, there are always Easter eggs. So yes, definitely cannot commit to the future. But so far, I think the main two things that we've really worked on is like enhancements of ADCS auditing to help customers keep a much better eye on what's really happening in their certificate issuance activities. And the second part has been a bigger effort related to CRL partitioning. So those are the two things. And then we have been heads down with post-quantum.
Yeah, absolutely. And since we're still on the current item, do you have a official channel or communications path? I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to hear from you and the team, in the future. What is your current official communication pipeline? Is it through TechNet articles? Is it through the Learn site? You're blogging. Like where do people go to connect so that when you have something to say about ADCS, they're going to hear it quickly?
That's a really good question, and that's something that we've been working on in consolidating. How can we really have some official channels set? So I think what we are going to largely use is, other than our summits and conferences that we have, which is Windows Server Summit is one area that we really try to talk about all the different features that we've introduced in the last 1 year, hoping to let our customers know the work that has been done. But other than that, yes, we are doing a much better job in MS Learn. So if you go and search for MS Learn articles on post-quantum and Active Directory certificate services, you will find a lot of goodness there. And that is something I still need to communicate to the world. So that's an Easter egg for you guys.
Okay. All right.
And the other part is that I think what we are going to do going forward is leverage our tech community space, where we do release a lot of Windows Server feature news, etc. So that's the place where we are going to start blogging more around whatever we are introducing. That's the hope. So keep a lookout there.
Yeah, yeah. All right, excellent. Well, let's move to the topic that everybody in the world seems to love to be talking about right now. It's post-quantum. Um, your team recently released some new functionality around there. So, can you talk to us about what your team has released as it relates to post-quantum and kind of where we currently are in the roadmap for post-quantum and ADCS?
Absolutely. So, as you all know, that the post-quantum journey is kind of a little ambiguous to start with. So, what we've done as a part of our work as a part of the Quantum Safe program, working closely with the crypto team, is that we've started to release the post-quantum capabilities in a phased-out manner. What this means is so that we can start lighting up features and scenarios for our customers, so that they can have their testing, their POC work in place, and get more ready to take in post-quantum cryptography changes as they come. What this means is that what we've done is that if you think about post-quantum, we are looking at two approaches as part of Microsoft's strategy. One is to have pure post-quantum algorithm support, and the second one is to have composite certificate support, which basically combines your traditional algorithms with your post-quantum algorithms and into one. So essentially, it's something that we see as a path of transition for our customers, where it is going to ensure that one would need to break both, and one has the security of both the algorithms while we, as more and more post-quantum algorithms are tested, vetted, and made more secure. So as you see that we have pure post-quantum and composite there. And as a part of pure post-quantum algorithms, we've introduced the first leg there, which is MLDSA, which you use for signature algorithms, etc. So this is our post-quantum signature algorithm that has support for that has been there. And what we are also planning to work on is bring in MLChem, which is our key encapsulation algorithm, and also the composite MLDSA and MLChem, which would also enable our customers to have the goodness of both and make sure that they are much more secure as they transition towards post-quantum world. And basically, as a part of MLDSA, the things that you can do today is you can successfully sign your CA hierarchy, like you can issue certificates that are signed by MLDSA. We've come in with 3 sets of signatures, which is MLDSA. And basically, as a part of this, you can also, today validate or look at your OCSP signing as well as a part of it. And also you can start to issue and, leave certificates for web server and code signing, etc., using MLDSA. So anything that is touching on the signing piece is being enabled right now. And we are hoping to slowly bring in the key encapsulation support as well, so that more and more certificate-based scenarios are lit up for our customers in the future. But this is something that's already ready to test for our customers since May. We released this last month. And as long as you have an updated server and updated client, which is Windows Server 2025 for servers, and for client side, Windows 11, 24H2 and above, you are in good hands to go and just build it up and try it out. And as I mentioned, that we do have the how-to guides as a part of our MS Learn articles. So you actually have a step-by-step set up and how do you really go about configuring these changes and testing them out. So we really urge our customers to go and adopt this.
Yeah, I know when you did the CRL partitioning items, there was some backporting on the ML DSA and the ML Chem. Are you in a place where you can comment on what target OS platforms you're going to support that?
I think what I would like to say is that currently there are no plans to backport any of the support to our older OSs. There are certain new capabilities that come in with the new server versions, and it is more coding forward for us. So that's the reason why. And of course, if the decision comes to backport it would be either to keep in mind certain scenarios or if we have a high customer demand for it. But so far, I think we are in a good place to really start moving forward with Windows Server 2025 and above. So currently, that's the plan.
Yeah, I think even that clarity is helpful for customers to say, hey, if we want to do this, what we do it. And with that, I'm going to take this opportunity. There's a question that I think is kind of applicable here. So this one, of course, is just scrolled off. So it's a two-part question from Mark. He says, does the whole enterprise have to be on 2025? So I'm assuming this is around, hey, if we want to do MLDSA, do we have to have everything on 2025? Thoughts on how you would answer that?
Yeah, so like if you're looking at, I think I need to, my short answer would be most likely yes. The reason is that if you're looking at server, right, in scenarios where servers are also your client side of things, where you need to even take in a server certificate that has been signed by MLDSA algorithm, you need the binaries to understand what that even means and to validate those changes, etc. Otherwise, your machines won't understand what they're getting because they are not PQ aware. So basically, for any kind of client and server in the environment that needs to be, post-quantum aware, you would need to have them at an OS that supports those post-quantum changes. So that would be my it depends slash depends on you on what you need to protect at this point of time. But
I would probably parse a little bit of you're right. It depends, and it probably is really just the systems that have a use case where you're going to be using the MLDSA. Those systems are going to have to be 2025 or comparable. Now, you could still be running a legacy RSA ECC, PKI, and serving all the other environments on 2016, 2022, whatever. And then maybe you've got a few use cases that are using the newer PKI on MLDSA, and they're updated to 2025 so they can understand and validate the certificates. So basically, anything that touches these post-quantum certificates is going to have to be updated, but you wouldn't necessarily have to update your domain functional level and every device before you could start doing. You could be a little more tactical. The other part of this is, do you have to complete a rebuild or build a new PKI to integrate these new post-quantum algorithms?
This is a question that has come up quite frequently. And right now, as we are more in the testing and the POC mode, we would also say that, like right now, as you're building out your PQ-aware CA hierarchy, we suggest that you do a separate one, a new one. There is no in-place upgrade option if that's what you're asking from your current CA hierarchy, etc. And it also serves a dual purpose, actually, because right now, as we are building up more and more scenarios for our customers to try, you can actually continue having your current CA hierarchy already servicing the clients and servers and any kind of applications that require those certificates, and at the same time start testing towards the second set. And there are going to be, changes in between which will require the functionalities to switch over to your new CA hierarchy. But that is going to be, some time ahead. So that's the reason why, I would say that if you're looking to start testing and building, do set up a new CA hierarchy, like a separate root and issuing CA, and have them signed by.
For some of the use case scenarios around the post-quantum capabilities, when we start talking about the composite certificates of the future, MLChem, MLDSA, there's been a lot of talk in the industry around the sizes of those certificates, and there's actually a question that came in around how those sizes are going to affect use cases, things like TLS. There's some issues. Are there conversations within Microsoft about how some of the work that you're doing on post-quantum, how it's going to affect things as simple as IIS, TLS kind of stuff in other places? And obviously some of it is more industry driven around hybrid certificates. Isn't RFC defined yet? TLS certainly isn't owned by Microsoft. How does that kind of factor into some of the work that you're doing as well?
Yes, absolutely. I'm not sure if I was just hearing
Yeah, getting a little bit of an echo there. All right, why don't you try now? For some reason, it looked like maybe there was a second join from you. Unmute. Tanya?
Yes, my bad.
There you go.
Yeah, I was just fixing up some technical issues, of course, as a part of tech. Apologies for that, folks. So yes, there are a lot of conversations around TLS readiness as well. And our S-channel team that works with the crypto team has been working on some of the TLS capabilities as well. And as of like recently itself, we have the TLS hybrid key exchange capability in the Windows Insider preview for our customers to test. So definitely there are these, like a lot of these conversations are very, very they keep changing on a day-to-day basis based on what we learn from the partners that we are working from, what we learn from the organizations that we are collaborating with. And a lot of this is actually really heavily coordinated by our crypto team, and they've been doing an amazing job there. So when we think about like how these conversations will change, there is right now we are trying to follow standardized guidelines in terms of what algorithms are we going to be introducing. We are trying to ensure that the guidelines are solidifying a little bit more and getting more concrete before we start really making much moves there. But there are always like changing conversations around, do we support this, do we support that, this organization is bringing in this thing, does it make sense for our customers? So there are these moving conversations, these moving pieces that are happening consistently in terms of TLS, ADCS, what algorithms, etc. And there are many more moving pieces as well. So I would say that this is an area that's very volatile and very, very open to interpretation and changes as we talk about. And that will also may change what our path is, and that may also like more educate us as well as we are doing this. And that's why like a lot of the post-quantum work that we are doing is in the now, that we can talk to you about like how things are looking today. But if there are more guidelines that do come in, if there are more scenarios that are introduced, the work that we do will also get influenced by that. So that's the whole piece around it. So I think Microsoft is doing a really good job in terms of like coordinating with all the other bodies, ensuring that we are keeping up with the timelines of meeting certain government timelines as well by 2027, 2030. If the timelines are changing, what are the conversations happening with NIST, etc. So even IATF guidelines, like right now, the composite certificate that we are following is also more standardized, which is the reason why it's coming a little later. A lot of our customers were like, why didn't you bring this up before, like post-quantum? The simple reason is because those guidelines were still taking time to get standardized, and we wanted to ensure that we are building the right thing for our enterprise customers, and we wanted to make sure that we have checked all the boxes before we do that. So that is something that goes on in the background, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm seeing a lot of questions specifically kind of calling out hybrid certificates. Is this something that you can speak about?
Yes, I mean, like the conversation that we usually get into is like, hey, what is our approach towards hybrid certificates? And our approach has been composite here. Like the reason is that we are following, like as I mentioned, like again, as you think about the hybrid composite, these are all very similar sounding words, but essentially there can be different approaches as a part of it. It's a category of post-quantum certificates. And so as a part of that, we are trying to do the composite certificate, which basically combines the traditional algorithm and the post-quantum algorithm into one, rather than having an if or that, okay, either you understand traditional or you understand post-quantum, your machines can do either. We have an and operation going on between them, which is like you need to be understanding both. And you need to be capable of, weakening both if there are any kind of security vulnerabilities. So that's the approach that we've taken. Something that's already also part of our IETF guidelines as well. The RFC that we are following.
Okay, excellent. Well, let's move on a little bit. So we talked a little earlier about CRL partitioning, but there were some other capabilities that you guys added as well. So why don't we go down the thread of, in addition to post-quantum, when we kind of think about modernizing ADCS, what does that mean to your team, and what can you share with us at this point?
Yeah, you actually asked me one question that I don't think I fully answered, which is around like, as we bring in different key sizes and variants, how does
Hmm.
that affect the size and basically any kind of impact that comes? And the answer is yes, because post-quantum keys and signatures are larger than traditional
Hmm.
ones. There, our customers do need to plan for bandwidth and storage impact, because with those additional key sizes, we are going to get into scenarios where there might be a little bit more need for storage and bandwidth as these are being actively used. It also, again, comes back to like anything that helps us have the scalability in place is also going to help us be more post quantum ready as well. And I think as a part of that, like CRL partitioning is a great area to kind of improve our revocation scalability. Like it will continue to help our customers address the growth that comes when it comes to managing high amount of workloads and identities, etc. So that's one way, but like of course there might be other things that we would need to think about as we start using post quantum more in our real world from the testing world. And if there are areas that we need to build better ways of handling and scaling, we might be also looking into those. But currently
Yeah.
that's the approach that we're having.
Well, I love a product manager who always wants to go back to a question that you could have gotten away with a half answer, or you say, I want to answer that a little bit more. So thank you for that. So the CRL partitioning has been out. I know we added capabilities for that already into Spotlight and found some interesting stuff. But that was great to see. And then some of the auditing. I would imagine this isn't something that somebody just sits down and pulls out of thin air. There must have been some interesting use cases or scenarios that kind of help form some of these early capabilities that you guys wanted to focus on.
Yes, I think like with the auditing piece, what we wanted to do was that a lot of times the questions, again, as we think about the customer questions that come up, or as we think about the need to have better understanding of like what's really happening in my environment, I think the enhancements came out of that effort. The reason why these four key events, which is 4886 to 4889, these are important is because they help detect any kind of misuse, support investigations, also help like, and maintain some kind of compliance as well. The reason why this also helps you monitor your PKI environments better is because it kind of, there are these activities that can mean more than a regular failure, something that can lead towards an attack or start of some kind of compromised accounts. And these are the events that might help you. But for example, like event 4886, it shows you, when the subject from CSR is not aligning with the requester. Now you could either verify the account details to rule out any impersonation, or that could be, configuration issue. But in the event that it might be the first part, the first option, then that is something that we need to keep an eye on. Similarly, like when we have these high value certificate templates, traditionally our recommendation is to not keep them published at all times. But even in the event that you do have them published, your event 4887 logs can actually indicate when those privileged and rarely used templates are being used. So if you set alerts on these sensitive templates, you can watch out for any kind of unauthorized attempts to escalate, right? And similarly, like, a lot of 4888, which is like, oh, we tried to request a certificate, but I think it failed. It could be a brute force attempt if you're seeing a lot of those. So a lot of this, again, goes back to like figuring out, okay, are these regular configuration problems or maintenance problems, or could that mean more? And I think that was the reason why we wanted to introduce these. And also, I think there's been a lot of like work that's being done in terms of like, hey, what kind of auth service are we using? Are we using NTLM? Are we using Kerberos? What kind of like values are we using? So I think all of these certificate auditing events have essentially have now so much more information that tells you who's requesting, what template, what kind of auth service, what kind of OS. So it basically also helps our customers manage their environments and plan for future better. So I think that was also one of the things that drove the work that we did on these.
Yeah, I think what's kind of great about that is it used to be a very kind of option A, option B. Either you did CRLs or you did OCSP, and you had to kind of come to terms with the complexities of OCSP and what it did and what it didn't do, and CRL partitioning. Kind of it doesn't fit every scenario, but it's one more tool in the belt for scenarios where, hey, we don't quite need OCSP for a reason, or we don't have systems that can support it. So I think that was a great way to go. Well, why don't we shift briefly and talk a little bit about the future? I suspect this is where we may have a little more guardrails as far as what you can talk about publicly. But why don't we at least go down this path as far as what you're able to share or talk about today, and then we'll take questions for the rest of the time.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, the main thing is that what is generally available today is our support for MLDSA, for post-quantum algorithm. So that's something that we are happy to hear more about. We've been validating very closely with the customers we've been talking to, and would love to hear more about how customers are finding it. But yes, as I mentioned, that we do have upcoming support for MLChem and composite certificates, which is our way of introducing composite MLDSA and composite MLChem support in the future. And what I can tell you is that these are coming in this year or by next year. So I cannot currently commit to the timeline, but this is how we are basically rolling out. So once we have the MLChem support, once we have the composite, we will be rolling that out and announcing it to all our customers to let them know that that's there. So I would also say that, like, keep an eye out on the MS Learn document. There's a whole tree that has been created just to track post-quantum releases. So as we have more and more support coming in, we will be bringing in more how-to guidelines, and basically how can you really go and adopt these? What kind of scenarios can you use them for, etc., as a part of those documentation as well. And if there is any kind of, like, I just also wanted to share our feedback channel as well. We're always listening here. You may not hear right away from us because, again, it's a small team that's looking at everything that comes our way. But we found that this is a great way to communicate and also understand what our customers have been looking for. So this is the channel that we'd also love to open up to all you guys. And yeah, let me know if there are any questions about it.
Great. So this is an excellent way for someone to send you feedback
Yes.
on ADCS. Okay.
Feature
I
request.
always tell
Yes.
customers, I go, hey, if there's things that you want that you're not hearing, if the product team doesn't know, they're not going to necessarily be able to read your mind. So I will definitely be sharing that distribution. Well, how about this? Let's turn off the slides and we will talk kind of Q&A with what we've got sitting in the queue. So if there's anything here you want to talk about, I love this first question that's been sitting here because it's near and dear to me. Do you think that there'll be any official Microsoft courses for ADCS again? There used to be, I used to know the number a long time ago, 2821C or something like that. There was a Microsoft official curriculum for PKI ADCS. Is that anything that you guys have talked about yet?
I don't think I can comment on that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't it's like the product group has not had any conversations around it. And it is something that even our learn and our education side of communities look at. So yeah. I really cannot comment on that.
Well, the good thing is I know there's a lot of third parties like us that have been doing courses that are out there. So even without the mock course, there are options out there. All right, next landmine. Any plans for Acme and ADCS in the future?
I would like to say that is something that we are currently exploring to understand what are the use cases that could benefit our customers for Acme, and what does that look like for us, and how can that implementation look like, and should we do it or not? So we are still in that very initial exploration phase is what I would like to say. And I would just like to say that if you have a use case for Acme, or if you want us to kind of support it, please share your feedback in our feedback channel, and that would really help us guide our prioritization efforts.
Yeah. And the fact that the conversation is happening is a promising thing. So, yeah, right. No commitments. Okay, this might be general. I'm going to say that you could answer this around the product or just a concept, if you will. Have you given or have you been paying attention to what's happening around the Merkle tree certificates? Now, this is more on the public PKI side of things, but thoughts on that?
I
if
would
it even touches on ADCS or not?
I wouldn't say that there are like any specific plans yet, but there are conversations that are also happening internally on Merkle Tree. So
Yeah.
if there are areas that we would need to, later on build up and support, we would look into it. But currently, that's something that's currently at the discussion phase.
Yeah, I know in 25 plus years now, we tend not to see ADCS in that public PKI space very much. That's probably a great set of questions for things like the Mozilla Edge team, like those areas that they're going to do that.
Yeah, and I'm sure our Edge customers and our Edge product managers are facing those questions more
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. Now, this question came from earlier, so it might have been before we talked a little bit about chem, but this one was, is there any time frame to deliver other standardized PQC algorithms? So if we interpret that as other than the MLDSA, MLChem, and anything that you can comment on around other post-quantum algorithms?
I would just say that, like, as I mentioned earlier, that we work very closely with the cryptography team. So our crypto team actually manages what kind of algorithms are brought in, what kind of binaries are introduced, etc. And there's a lot of work that they are doing on those as well. So I would say that currently I cannot comment to any kind of timelines. And honestly, that would be a better question for that team. But I'm happy to take that back to them and see if there's any information I could share in the future.
Okay. I have a question from Peter. We already answered the second half of this about Acme. So the first half was, will you provide a new admin interface for managing CAs, templates, and certificates?
That's a good question, and a great thought to actually think about. But I would also say that currently we've not really looked into that area. So I think that's something that I'll take back to my team to think through more.
All right. Now, this next question, I'm going to take a little bit of personal exception to, and I'll tell you why. So this is from Paul. It's another question regarding high availability. So earlier we talked about scalability and resilience. So this one was around HA redundancy for organizational PKIs. Historically, the only official documented method is clustering, which many organizations don't like using. Will there be a shift to something more friendly? Now, I take exception because I wrote that white paper when I was at Microsoft of using failover cluster for ADCS. It was groundbreaking at the time. But putting that aside, is some high availability or other types of technologies something that you guys are looking at of throwing away that guidance I wrote now 15 years ago, I think?
That's a good question, Mark. Not at the moment, to be honest. I think we have our hands full for the next 2 years easily with a lot of post-quantum and a lot of changes that we might need to do because of post-quantum, and how do we enable our customers to have a better experience. So that is definitely not something that we're looking at. And I think in my personal experience, again, like I've seen most of the customers just, when they look at the scalability or like the resiliency of the PKI environment for ADCS, they usually go the path of like having one root CA and having few multiple like issuing CAs to kind of take into that scenario. So honestly, we've also not heard so many requests related to that.
Yeah. All right. We're running short on time. We've got two last questions, and then we'll wrap up here. So William asked about Acme, which we've already answered, but the second part of it was about EST support. Okay. Anything that you guys are thinking around EST?
I cannot say that we've been looking into it. So I think, that is something that's on my plate to go research. So that's more on a product manager. Got to know if there is a use case there and everything. But again,
let's get Acme first, and then we can worry about other things.
Looks like Mark, you're already prioritizing for me.
Happy to do so.
Yeah, I believe that there needs to be a balance between like what we are exploring and what are the use cases where it makes sense for our enterprise customers. So it keeps coming back to that. These are all the areas we've been thinking about.
Yeah. And then I love, William had a second question here that took the 20 plus year old question and put a new spin around post-quantum. Given the increase in cert size, will you move off of the JET database for ADCS? So no. This is I'm like, Active Directory still uses the JET database. It works.
Unfortunately, fortunately, whatever it is, we don't have any plans yet.
Yeah.
We can't commit to the what can come in the future, but so far nothing in our roadmap yet.
Yeah, I think an interesting thing for me is I know there's a lot of competitors out there to ADCS that try to tout, oh my gosh, we use SQL Server and so much better because ADCS uses Jet Database. And I'm like, it works, it's proven. Active Directory runs out. Why change it?
Yes.
All right. Well, like I said, we have some more remaining questions, so we'll work with you after the session to see what you can maybe help us follow up with everybody on. But no, just kind of a quick summary. We talked about the work that you guys have already done with ADCS. We've talked about the post-quantum capabilities that are in there, the 2025, the ML Chem stuff that's coming out in the future, and your feedback email that you got. The team is there, you're working on stuff, and you want to hear from people. With that, is there any final thoughts or anything you'd like to share as we wrap up today?
I think my final thought is again that post-quantum changes are an area that is currently, always changing. So it would be really nice to kind of like hear from your experiences as well as what are the kind of challenges you guys are seeing and how can we better help there. And we are definitely trying to work on ensuring that we are able to document the work we are doing. So there are no Easter eggs when it comes to post-quantum.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for listening.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. I think this has been a great way of helping to get the community connected to you, to make sure that they're aware of the work that you're doing. I understand you're not going to be at Ignite this year unless things have changed, right?
Yeah, it's a little up in the air, but I may not be there. So that's the current situation.
Okay. Well, maybe some of our audience will be there. But if we do, we'll all be sure to say hi in person. Thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, we'll follow up on any questions we didn't get to and see if we can get those in front of you. As I said at the top of the hour, we'll get this recording up on our YouTube channel shortly. If you have any feedback on the session, please do let us know. We will have another great webinar, probably not as exciting as having Rashmi and Tanya's. Look at that, I already went to Rashmi. Having Tanya join us, but who knows? Maybe you guys have done something miraculous that you can't say, and we'll have something great to talk about in July. But I know we'll have another great topic in July. We'll have those invites out soon. And to everyone that joined us today, thank you very much. Hopefully this has been an excellent use of your time, and we appreciate you. And we'll see you next month. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a good day.